In a lavish penthouse, a millionaire accuses his black cleaning lady of theft, but what unfolds is a stunning story of truth, power, and quiet defiance. "Where is my Rolex?" Richard Blackstone's voice thundered through the sprawling penthouse, cutting sharply across the lavish space like a storm unleashed. His fierce eyes scanned every inch of the 3,000-square-foot room until they locked onto Monica, quietly arranging cleaning supplies in the corner. At 32, Monica was no stranger to tension, but the weight behind Richard's glare made her pause. She met his gaze steadily and said, "I don't know anything about your watch, Mr. Blackstone." Richard's face flushed crimson with fury as he lunged forward. "Don't play dumb. You were the only one in my closet today. A $50,000 Submariner doesn't just vanish." Monica squared her shoulders, gripping her cleaning cloth like armor. 5 years with elite cleaning services had taught her to handle difficult clients, but something in Richard's tone tonight was colder, sharper, personal. "If it'll ease your mind, I can check my purse," she offered, voice calm, though a familiar sting of indignation tightened inside her. Suddenly, a desperate cry pierced the tension, a raw, urgent wail from the next room. Monica's brow furrowed. This wasn't the usual fussiness of a hungry or sleepy baby. It was deeper, a distress that unsettled her. Richard's attention, however, didn't shift toward the nursery. "The nanny's taking care of it now. Open your bag," he commanded sharply. But the crying only grew louder, impossible to ignore. Defying every cleaning protocol she knew, Monica walked toward the baby's room. What she saw stopped her cold. Thomas, Richard's 6-month-old son, lay alone in his crib. His diaper was soaked, his face flushed and streaked with tears. No nanny anywhere in sight. Softly, Monica whispered, "Hi, little one." Her voice gentle, maternal instincts stirring from years of caring for her nephews. Without hesitation, she checked the baby, changed his diaper, and cradled him in her arms. Almost instantly, Thomas stopped crying, nestling against her as if he had finally found the comfort he was searching for. The moment shattered as Richard appeared in the doorway, still clutching his phone. "What the hell do you think you're doing? Put my son down, now!" Monica handed Thomas over carefully, but the instant Richard took him, the baby erupted again in inconsolable cries. He rocked and spoke softly to Thomas, but nothing calmed the boy. Frustration flashed across Richard's face. "I don't understand," he muttered. "Babies can sense tension," Monica explained simply. "When adults are nervous or aggressive, they notice." Richard stared at her, surprise flickering beneath his irritation. "Are you saying I'm a bad father?" "I'm just explaining why your son calmed down with me," Monica replied calmly. For a fleeting moment, something softened in Richard's eyes. Curiosity, maybe even respect. But arrogance quickly reclaimed its place. "Well, what a convenient coincidence," he sneered. "The same person who steals my watch also has a magic touch with babies. Quite the story." Monica inhaled deeply, steadying herself. Years of swallowing prejudice, suspicion, and silent accusations had forged her resilience, but this time was different. This time she wouldn't back down. "Mr. Blackstone," she said firmly, "I did not take your watch. And if you're set on accusing me without proof, call the police. I'm sure they'll want to investigate everything." Her confidence made Richard hesitate. There was something about her steady gaze. The way she moved with purpose, as if she held secrets he didn't. "That's right," she continued, organizing her cleaning supplies with precise, deliberate movements. "Someone who has nothing to hide. Someone who's been waiting for this moment." What Richard Blackstone didn't realize was that this false accusation had awoken a strength in Monica that had lain dormant for years. To underestimate someone who has endured much worse is not just a mistake, it's signing your own downfall. If this story of injustice and quiet determination touches you, don't forget to subscribe, because what happens next proves that sometimes the person you least expect is the one you should fear most. Monica's unwavering calm rattled Richard, but only for a moment before his arrogance surged back. "A full investigation," he scoffed, tapping rapidly on his phone. Perfect. The more evidence, the better. I'm sending a message to the entire elite cleaning services team. They need to know exactly what kind of employee you are. Monica's jaw tightened, her hands still steady. She had seen this play before. For 5 years, she'd witnessed the same pattern, missing items mysteriously reappearing after the worker was publicly shamed. Richard, growing bolder, added venomously, "I'll post this on social media, too. Other employers need to be warned about people like you." At those words, the atmosphere shifted. Monica froze, eyes locking with his, burning with quiet fury. Richard took an involuntary step back. "People like me?" she echoed slowly. "How interesting. And what kind of person do you think I am, Mr. Blackstone?" "If there is anything I haven't asked." For a moment, Richard faltered, sensing he'd crossed a dangerous line, but his pride wouldn't let him retreat. "People who think they can walk into family homes and steal, those are the kinds of people you're talking about." Monica finished his sentence for him, her voice steady but sharp. "Is that what you meant, Mr. Blackstone?" His phone buzzed again. A message from his lawyer. Meeting cancelled. Urgent family matter. But Richard barely glanced at it, too consumed by his personal crusade to notice the warning signs that his day was unraveling. "You know what's interesting, Mr. Blackstone?" Monica said, closing her briefcase with deliberate precision. "In 5 years working for families like yours, this is the first time I've ever been accused of theft." "First time you got caught," Richard sneered, disdain dripping from his words. "Or maybe it's just the first time someone lost something and automatically blamed the only black person in the room." Monica's icy calm made Richard swallow hard, his confidence shaking ever so slightly. His phone vibrated again, then once more. He ignored it all, desperate to cling to control in a situation slipping through his fingers. "Listen." Richard stepped closer, trying to intimidate her with his looming presence. "I've known people like you forever. You come in with that dignified attitude, but deep down—" "Deep down." "Deep down what?" Monica interrupted, turning to face him fully for the first time. Richard caught a flicker of something in her eyes that made him doubt whether he had chosen the right person to humiliate. From the bedroom came the sharp cry of "Thomas," but neither moved. The tension in the room thickened, nearly suffocating. "I'll tell you something about people like me," Monica said, picking up her purse with quiet resolve. "We grow up learning that the truth always comes out." "Always," she repeated. "And when it does, those who lied pay a very high price." Richard forced a laugh. "Are you threatening me? I'm just telling you how the real world works." Monica took a step toward the door. "Oh, and Mr. Blackstone, I suggest you check your pockets and maybe your car. Men like you have a habit of blaming others for their mistakes." Suddenly, Richard's phone erupted with notifications. 12 missed messages, 3 missed calls, all from his office. He glanced at the screen, panic flickering for the first time. "Where do you think you're going?" he shouted after Monica. "Police are on their way," she called back from the doorway. "Great, I love the police, especially when they see the building's security cameras." Richard frowned. "What cameras?" "The ones that show everything in the hallways, elevators, and parking lot," Monica said, her voice steady. "The ones that will prove I arrived here at 9 this morning and haven't left once since. But mostly, the ones that will show exactly where you lost your watch." Richard started sweating, not just because of her words, but the way she said them, as if she already knew what those cameras would reveal. His phone rang again. The caller ID made his blood run cold. "Private investigator. Urgent." "Excuse me," Monica said politely. "I need to find my next house. But don't worry, Mr. Blackstone. I'm sure we'll get to the bottom of this today." She disappeared down the hall as Richard, trembling, answered the call. "Mr. Blackstone," the investigator's voice was tense. "We need to talk. It's about your wife." "My wife?" Richard's world tilted. "She's not even in town." "That's exactly what we need to discuss." Every humiliation only fueled a quiet fire inside Monica, a strength invisible to her oppressors but growing with every injustice they tried to impose. What Richard didn't know was that every act of contempt was scripting his own downfall, while the woman he sought to destroy held secrets powerful enough to shatter his perfect life. The investigator's voice dropped. Victoria is not in Miami visiting her mother. She's been in Las Vegas for 3 weeks with another man. Richard's world crumbled in seconds. That's impossible. She calls me every day. The calls come from her cell phone, but through apps masking her location. We have photos, hotel records, everything. As Richard grappled with betrayal, Monica stood in the building's parking lot, dialing her sister Carmen. "I need a favor," she said. "Remember that private security course I took before coming to the States? Of course, you were the best in class. I need you to contact our instructor, Detective Martinez. Tell him Monica Santos needs a professional favor." Carmen hesitated. "Are you in trouble?" "Not yet," Monica smiled, eyes on the security monitors. "But someone will be soon." What no one knew was that before moving here, Monica spent 5 years as a private investigator in Jamaica. She wasn't just a cleaning lady. She held a criminology degree and was studying forensic psychology while working. 30 minutes later, Detective Martinez returned her call. "Monica Santos, my best former student. What can I do?" "I need legal access to the building's security footage, and maybe a little digging on a man named Richard Blackstone." "Leave it to me. How soon?" 2 hours would be perfect." Meanwhile, Richard was juggling the shocking news about his wife and the arrival of police investigating the stolen watch. Detectives Johnson and Rodriguez listened skeptically as he recounted his story. "Sue, you say a cleaning lady stole your watch, but you don't know when or how?" "She was the only one in my closet today," Richard insisted. "And where exactly did you last see the watch?" Detective Johnson asked. Richard hesitated. The truth was, he couldn't remember. With the chaos of meetings, travel, and nanny issues, his routine had spiraled out of control. If this story moved you, please like, comment, and subscribe. Your support helps give light to voices that deserve to be seen and heard. "I always leave it on the nightstand," Richard insisted, but Detective Rodriguez raised a skeptical eyebrow. "Always? Are you absolutely sure about that?" Just then Richard's phone buzzed again. It was his family lawyer. "Richard, I just got a strange call," the lawyer said urgently. "Someone at the office is asking questions about you. Your professional conduct, your employment history. Are you under investigation?" Richard's stomach churned. "What kind of questions?" "Questions about how you treat employees, whether there have been any complaints of discrimination." Then the line went dead. Richard tried to call back, but it went straight to voicemail. Meanwhile, the police continued their investigation. Detective Johnson's phone pinged with the new message. "Mr. Blackstone, the building's security cameras show the employee arriving at 9 in the morning and staying until now. They also show you leaving last night at 11:45 and returning this morning at 8:15. "And what's the problem?" Richard asked, masking his unease. Detective Rodriguez's voice was steady. "The same cameras captured you dropping something in the parking lot last night as you got out of your car, something that glinted in the light." Richard's face turned pale. That doesn't prove anything." "Actually, it does." Detective Johnson held up a clear plastic bag. Inside, a Rolex watch gleamed. "It was found under your car, Mr. Blackstone." Humiliation crashed down like a tidal wave. The man who had accused an innocent woman of theft was the one who had carelessly lost his own watch. But the worst was yet to come. Detective Martinez called Monica with news that brought a rare smile to her lips. "Monica, you won't believe what I uncovered about Richard Blackstone. He's been sued 3 times in the last 5 years for racial discrimination, all settled out of court with gag orders." "There's more," Martinez continued. "His company is under IRS investigation for tax evasion, and he's about to lose everything. His wife is filing for divorce and demanding half his assets. The man is desperate." Monica absorbed the information quietly. Richard Blackstone wasn't just prejudiced. He was a desperate man with a record of discriminatory behavior. Exactly the kind of man who needed a public reckoning. "Detective Martinez, I need one more favor," she said. "Still have contacts in the investigative press?" "I do." "Good. A story is about to be told, and this time it will be told right." Later, alone in his apartment after the police had left, Richard stared at the recovered watch. For a moment he considered calling the cleaning company to apologize. But his wounded pride won out. "She may have proven she didn't steal the watch," he muttered, "but she's still just a cleaning lady. What harm could she possibly do to me?" That question would soon be answered. Because while Richard completely underestimated the woman he humiliated, Monica was already 3 steps ahead, crafting a life lesson that would force Richard to rethink every prejudice and every choice he had ever made. What Richard couldn't imagine was that his arrogant question, "What harm can a cleaning lady do to me?" was about to become the cruelest irony of his privileged life. Richard spent the afternoon desperately trying to plug the holes in his sinking ship. His wife ignored his calls. His lawyer had vanished without explanation. 3 major clients canceled contracts after receiving troubling information about his conduct. At 5 p.m. his phone rang with an unknown number. "Mr. Blackstone, this is Jennifer Walsh from Channel 7 News Investigative," the reporter said. "We're preparing a story on workplace discrimination and would like your response to some serious allegations." "Allegations?" Richard felt a cold sweat beat at his temples. "We have documentation of 3 racial discrimination cases in the last 5 years, all settled with generous non-disclosure agreements. And today we received a detailed account of an incident involving an Afro-Jamaican employee." Richard hung up, but the phone rang again immediately. This time it was Marcus, his senior partner, voice rising in panic. "Richard, what the hell is going on? The press is calling the office non-stop about discrimination lawsuits. I got a call saying you have a systematic pattern of problematic behavior with black employees." As Richard scrambled for an explanation, Monica sat relaxed in a chic cafe 3 blocks away, speaking with Detective Martinez and an imposing woman. "Monica, this is Dr. Patricia Williams," Martinez introduced. "One of the country's top civil rights attorneys. She personally represented the 3 women who sued Blackstone." Dr. Williams opened a thick file on the table. "Miss Santos, your situation is nearly identical to the others. Black female employees facing false accusations, intimidation, and public humiliation. The crucial difference," Monica said, "is that I documented absolutely everything in real time." "How so?" "Your phone was recording the entire incident today. Did you plan this?" the lawyer asked, intrigued. Monica smiled, a genuine smile, the first in weeks. "Let's just say years as a private investigator in Jamaica taught me to always be prepared, especially when I start noticing suspicious patterns." Detective Martinez laughed, impressed. "So you planned this from the beginning?" "Not exactly from the beginning," Monica admitted. "But when I started working for elite families, I quickly realized I needed to protect myself. I research every client thoroughly before accepting a job. When I saw Mr. Blackstone's troubled history, I set my phone to record automatically whenever I'm on his property." Dr. Williams pulled out another document. "There's more. The building's security footage proves he blatantly lied to police about crucial details. We have him rehammed for false reporting." At that moment, Richard faced the worst professional nightmare of his privileged life. The company's board of directors had convened an emergency meeting after receiving a devastating dossier on his history of discrimination. Margaret Chun, board chair, spoke gravely. "We have received troubling documentation, not just about prior labor lawsuits, but about today's incident which was fully recorded." Richard stammered. "This is nonsense. "You falsely accused a female employee of theft because she's black," interrupted a board member, "and this entire conversation was recorded. 37 minutes of crystal-clear audio." Richard felt the room collapse as Margaret slid a tablet across the table. A screen, his own voice rang out clearly. "People like you always think they can take advantage of hard-working people like me. I've known people like you forever." "That's completely out of context," Richard protested weakly. "Is it?" Margaret pressed, playing the full recording, including his promise to alert other employers about people like her. Suddenly, Richard's phone buzzed with a notification that froze his blood. Channel 7 News on Twitter. "Elite executive exposed for systemic discrimination by employee who documented everything. Special broadcast at 7 p.m. Margaret snapped the tablet shut. The board has decided unanimously you are suspended indefinitely. We strongly advise you to seek legal counsel immediately. At 7 p.m., alone in his penthouse, Richard watched his world unravel on live television. Reporter Jennifer Walsh's voice filled the room. A new case shakes the community tonight. Exclusive recordings expose the systematic discriminatory behavior of Richard Blackstone, senior executive at one of the city's largest investment firms. The full audio played. Every prejudiced word, every false accusation, every attempt to intimidate laid bare for all to hear. Richard's phone erupted with notifications, clients canceling contracts, acquaintances expressing shock. His social and professional life crumbled in real time. The final blow came at 9 p.m. when Victoria finally called from Las Vegas. "Richard, I'm watching the news here at the hotel," she said coldly. "My lawyer says this complicates our separation." "Victoria, please listen." "No, Richard. For years I swallowed your jokes, your comments about employees, thinking it was immaturity. But this reveals who you really are. You can't abandon me now. The divorce settlement has changed. My lawyer wants 50% of everything, your share of the company included. Who's going to want to do business with a man who appears on national television talking like that about black employees?" As Richard faced the total collapse of his privileged life, Monica quietly prepared dinner at home. Detective Martinez called with one last report that made her smile with satisfaction. The Federal Department of Civil Rights is opening a formal investigation into his company. The IRS expedited their tax audit after the public exposure. And Dr. Williams successfully reopened the cases of the other 3 women. Her phone rang again. "Monica Santos, this is David Chun from Chen & Associates. We saw your story on the news and want to offer you a position as senior investigator, starting at $80,000 a year." Richard Blackstone had learned in the harshest way that underestimating someone based on prejudice only reveals one's own rotten character and sets the stage for total destruction. When you humiliate someone armed with the tools to defend herself, you don't just commit injustice. You hand her the weapons to rewrite your story and reduce your arrogance to ashes. 6 months later, Monica Santos sat in her office on the 23rd floor of Chen & Associates, leading a team of 12 investigators. The panoramic city skyline stretched beyond the glass, a stark contrast to the apartments she once cleaned. "Miss Santos," her assistant announced over the intercom, "Jennifer Walsh is here for your interview about the Civil Rights Defender of the Year award." The public recognition had come as a surprise. Monica's courage in documenting and exposing Richard's discrimination inspired others to speak out, sparking change in the city's labor policies. Jennifer entered, smiling. "How does it feel to know your story changed the law on protective recordings for domestic workers?" Monica's confident smile was her trademark. "The truth always finds a way to the surface," she said, "especially when you give it a little help." Monica's investigative firm had blossomed beyond anyone's expectations. Clients sought her out by name, the woman who had brought down Richard Blackstone. 3 major corporations hired her to conduct internal discrimination audits, paying fees that eclipsed her former cleaning salary tenfold. Meanwhile, across town, Richard Blackstone pushed a shopping cart through a modest neighborhood supermarket. His fall had been brutal and complete. The company had fired him permanently. Victoria had taken half his assets in the divorce. No reputable firm would hire him after his public disgrace. The penthouse was sold to cover legal bills. Now he lived in a small studio apartment in the suburbs, scraping by on temp jobs. His social media presence became a cautionary tale, a textbook example for business students on the devastating consequences of corporate prejudice. "Daddy, why is that lady on TV talking about you?" asked Thomas, now 3 years old, during one of the rare visits Victoria allowed. Richard struggled to explain how he had become a symbol of corporate injustice. Channel 7 regularly aired Monica's story as part of a series on overcoming adversity and social justice. One afternoon, Monica received an unexpected call. "Miss Santos, this is Dr. Patricia Williams. I have some interesting news. Richard Blackstone tried to get a job at our firm." "Really?" Monica laughed, genuinely amused. He was of course turned down immediately, but he mentioned your name during the interview, said he learned a valuable lesson and deeply respected your professionalism. Respected my professionalism? Monica repeated, savoring the irony. How interesting, learning to respect people after losing everything. Monica's transformation went far beyond her career. She bought her mother a house in Jamaica, paid for 3 nephews to attend college, and established a foundation supporting domestic workers facing discrimination. Her latest cases included exposing labor exploitation in millionaire households and uncovering a network of employers sharing blacklists, targeting employees based on race. Dr. Williams, Monica continued, I think Mr. Blackstone really learned something important, unfortunately too late. 3 days later, speaking at a university, a student raised her hand. Miss Santos, have you ever felt the urge for personal revenge against the man who humiliated you? Monica considered briefly. No. The best revenge is building something bigger than he could ever imagine. While he lost everything to prejudice, I gained a career, a mission, and the satisfaction that my story protects others. The audience erupted in applause. Monica had become a symbol of turning injustice into purpose, humiliation into motivation. That night, as she reviewed contracts, a LinkedIn message popped up. From a young black lawyer. Miss Santos, your story inspired me not to give up when I faced discrimination at work. Today I got my promotion. Thank you for showing that truth and determination always win. Monica smiled, pocketing her phone. This was the true measure of her success, not just her own rise, but the lives she'd touched. Richard Blackstone tried to destroy her based solely on the color of her skin and an assumption that she couldn't defend herself. Ironically, by attacking her, he armed Monica with everything she needed to build an empire protecting others like her. Justice had been served perfectly. While Richard learned the harsh cost of prejudice, Monica thrived, proving true strength lies not in tearing others down, but lifting them up. Sometimes the greatest revenge isn't destroying those who hurt you. It's building something so great their cruelty becomes irrelevant. Richard tried to humiliate a cleaning lady and ended up creating one of the country's most respected investigators. If Monica's story of transformation and justice touched you, subscribe to the channel and leave a comment. Have you ever had to prove your worth to someone who underestimated you? Share your experience. Stories like Monica's remind us that our beginnings don't determine our destiny. Only our determination does. Thank you for sharing this journey with us today. Stories like Monica's remind us that kindness, courage, and standing up for what's right, even in the smallest ways, can create ripples of change that reach far beyond ourselves. Every act of compassion has the power to heal wounds, challenge injustice, and inspire hope where it's needed most. If this story touched your heart, please consider liking, sharing, and subscribing so we can continue to bring these powerful voices to light. As the poet Maya Angelou said, "Try to be a rainbow in someone's cloud. Let's be that light together."